So thankful for the opportunity to be here. Thanks for Scott for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I have been involved with strengths-based leadership, strengths-based coaching for over 20 years now. Started with my career at Best Buy in retail. I still continue in retail today. I've been with other retail companies previously, and now I'm with Dollar Tree in IT. Managing store-facing systems. And so I continue to do that. And I've started recently to pursue this as a side hustle. I've done over 70 coaching sessions with individuals and now 16 different workshops with different organizations that I've worked with and others that have brought me in to help them along their strengths journey. I'm a father of 4. I've got kids now that are adults, 2 at 22, 19, 2 boys, another boy that's 17 and a daughter that's 16, 2 dogs and a wife of 28 years. So I try not to look that old, but I've been around the block a little bit. So, but I am super excited to be here. It's been really fun listening in to the energy from this group and the enthusiasm they have around what Scott's got going on. And I look forward to talking to you tonight about a strengths-based project management model, and it all kind of ties together.
Before you jump in, we're going to do something kind of fun tonight. We'll let Dan roll, but like at the end, we had a couple people, like Dan is going to put this into practice, so like bring it all home for you. But then at the end, we have me, Tony Cherry, and goodness me, and another student I can't remember right now. I apologize. I sent to a lot of people. And we're going to look at like how our strengths, if we got combined with Dan in a team, go through there. So I'll be quiet.
Kimberly Acevedo is the other one.
Yeah. Acevedo, yeah. So that's awesome. All right. So yeah, there you go, Kim. I apologize. So let's roll. Take it away, man.
All right. So jumping right in, and I'll roll through this efficiently. I'm going to try and get it so we have a good 20 minutes to do that. Putting it into practice, and then also time for a Q&A at the end. So what is a strengths-based project management? What is that, right? Some of you raise your hand in the chat if you have heard of Gallup Strengths Finder. It's called Clifton Strengths, just to give a read on y'all out there. I see some hands were up before, but I see a few. Okay, so some of you are familiar with it. I'm always surprised, and I'll get into it in a little more detail here about, there's more going up. Excellent. So some of you, of course, have done it that did it as part of that session I'm going to do at the end, but some of you may have done it and I just am not aware of it. But a lot of people take it and they don't take it any further. So as far as actually putting it into practice, to say, oh, that's neat, and then they move on. So strengths-based project management seeks to understand and benefit from understanding the unique strengths of each team member for the purpose of applying their best towards the aligned success of a project. So coming in right alongside what you learn and put into practice as PMP or soon to be PMP practitioners, this model will help you to be more effective at pulling a team together and making them more cohesively work with each other. So it's about communication. It's about recognizing who they are and how they're wired as individuals. And with that, when it's all brought together and that team is working effectively in understanding both how they're wired as individuals, but also how they are wired as a collective team, they can be more effective at getting things done. So some core principles here that tie into the strengths-based leadership model and strengths-based project management. A team that uses this, they all have a passion to improve. We've never arrived, meaning if you think that you're at the pinnacle of what you can be as an individual, you probably are fooling yourself. We always have an opportunity as a lifelong learner to continue to learn and grow throughout our life. That's why some of you are here, is because you already got the PMP, or at least most of you. You're here to learn more and put it into practice, and some of you are here just to get PDUs, but I think it's a combination of both. All strengths are recognized. So I've been on teams before in the past where they're looking for one type of individual and they try to hire for that. And they try to create a homogenous team that everybody's the same. They're like robots and they do the same thing over and over. And it's not a very exciting place. In a strengths-based leadership model or project management model, all strengths are recognized. the diversity of the individual and what they bring to the table is something that is of value and is used to improve the overall team. Everyone is necessary and no one is sufficient. So this is interesting as you think about, even if I go to Michael Jordan, right? When he was still playing basketball and at the peak of his career, he still had a team behind him. Even though he was the star of the show, everybody else on that team was necessary to make it all happen. And he couldn't have been a star on any team if he didn't have a group of individuals working with him to play their parts. Each individual brings their best. So this is really critical, that as you go as an individual, you understand. Somebody else here. Make sure you're on mute if you have any background noise, please. So as an individual, make sure you understand how you're wired. If you're clueless about yourself, you don't necessarily know what to bring, and you're maybe misfiring and not hitting the target as far as what you're trying to achieve. If you understand yourself and you harness that and focus it, you can make a bigger impact in the world around you and enjoy it while you do it. All right. So why is this beneficial? Some of it has come out as I've already explained it to you. But strengths overall, the strengths-based leadership model comes from 40 years of Gallup research. And it's been around. The research occurred in the mid to late 90s, and it's continued. And it also was put into an analysis back in the late 90s, early 2000 by Marcus Buckingham and Donald Clifton, who were both at Gallup at that time. Marcus Buckingham has moved on to do many other things. He's got a new book out called Love Plus Work that I'm going through right now myself. Donald Clifton was the president at Gallup, and he has passed on here a number of years ago. So they found that focusing on strengths, as you understand yourself as an individual and focus on those strengths, productivity increases, among many other things. Talents are enduring and unique. So real quick, there's a difference between a strength and a talent. A talent is you have some tendencies, but they aren't necessarily acted upon. A strength is those tendencies put into practice. So it'd be the example of someone saying, you know, I'm really, really good at being an accountant, right? And they have tendencies. They like numbers. They like to give people counsel on numbers. They like to do analyses on spreadsheets, but they never put it into practice. It's just a talent. It's something that they think they'd like to do. A strength has evidence. A strength would say, I helped my family member put together a budget, or I did took over QuickBooks at work, right? Or the accounting, I'm in the accounting department at my job and they aren't firing me, right? That means I'm pretty good. So that's a strength. The other thing about that, enduring and unique, is your strengths don't change much over the course of your lifetime. This applies, it speaks to the model of, as an individual, we aren't born as blank slates. We're born with certain things that we gravitate to, are interested in, and as we go through the course of our life, we don't change as far as liking other things or suddenly flipping. That's very rare. We only become more of who we already are. Now, for some of you, as I say that, you're like, what? That scares me. It's a good thing when you apply it in a strengths-based way. Most growth occurs in area of strengths. I'll show you something in a moment that demonstrates that. Get this, 28,426,047 Clifton Strengths Assessment completed to date. Since I started the presentation and then Scott did his, I moved it up one. I should have moved it up two more for the other two that their strengths went in. But Gallup constantly is tracking this, and they are a data analytics company, research company. So they are constantly using this new data that came in. Matter of fact, they have a report that came out that says what some of the evidences are of a strengths-based workplace look like, or individuals applying their strengths. So I said I'd give you some examples. So this is my top 5. I took this back in 2001, I believe is when I did this. Actually, that is when it was. So harmony, positivity, adaptability, developer, and belief. And for me, I've done Myers-Briggs. I'm an ENFP if you've done Myers-Briggs. But what the strengths do for me is they help me to put some feeling, emotion, some words, some practical evidences in place that say, I know what harmony looks like for Dan Hay. As you'll notice in the diagram here, return on investment up here is high. And at the top 5, Gallup found in their research that when you invest in the top 5, the return on investment is high, right? As you go further into the list of the 34, the return on investment drops off dramatically. So really important that you focus on these. I encourage folks when you do the assessment, so I don't have anything in here specifically that talks about that, but Gallup has this assessment that you can either get by buying a book online, Amazon, or, you know, go out to the Barnes and Noble near you, and costs about $20 for a book or $20 online to go out to their website and take the assessment. You can do that right after this meeting if you wanted to and get your top 5. And that will give you the code or the opportunity online to take the assessment. Takes about, I don't know, how long did it take you, Scott or Anthony, to take the assessment?
I don't know, like 15, 20 minutes. I can't remember.
Oh, he's
I
fast.
did it late. Yeah, not long. It was kind of fun. It was kind of cool to think about yourself. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, Anthony, putting you on the spot. How long did it take you? He's trying to find mute now. There we go.
Hey, took about 25 minutes or so. It kind of pushes you through because you can't take too long to answer one question.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's gotten a little faster. I'd tell people, you know, give yourself an hour, but they're saying 20 minutes now, a little bit faster. So anyway, the point is when you get done, the results are instantly sent to you so you can see what your top 5 are. Now, the other side of it is they have an opportunity to do just the top 5 for $20, or they do all 34 for $50. I don't get any commission from Gallup for that. That's just you working with them independently. They provide that information directly to you as an individual. So I recommend the all 34 because I think it's important for you to be aware of your bottom 5. So as I look at this, and I'm being transparent with y'all, futuristic, command, strategic, analytical, and focus. So you'll see in a moment that Scott has some of these as well as Anthony that I don't have. And we look at the world slightly differently because of it. But it doesn't mean that, you know, we need to hate each other. We're just different. So very important to recognize that. I also, of my bottom 5, 2 of these my wife has in her top 5. So we can cause friction. I can share that from a marital perspective. This applies to work life and personal life. Is you need to understand how your strengths work, because as I approach interactions with my wife, if I understand how she's looking at the world and she understands how I look at the world, by recognizing that and not just being driven crazy by it, we can actually get along and appreciate each other a little bit better. So, and that same applies to a team. So this is all 34. As I mentioned, there's 34 different themes. So when you do your top 5 or your assessment, you'll get your top 5 or all 34. You'll be able to see exactly how you're wired as individuals. I'm going to check the chat real quick. We're all different, perfectly imperfect. I love that. Strategy implementation examples. We'll talk about that here in a moment. Recommendations for investing in top 5. We'll touch on that briefly. ISTJ. Deb loves StrengthsFinder. Great. All right, we'll keep those comments coming. I'll try and watch for those. Because if I go back here, you see that number 34? That's focus. It is, the strengths aren't opposites of each other, but for me, it kind of is. Adaptability means I go with the flow, I adapt. This presentation is the only thing keeping me here today. Otherwise, I would have already left the room. I'm just kidding. So as I mentioned, these are all 34. And I'll talk in a moment about why they're colored this way. There's a specific reason that we'll get into momentarily. So what I want you all to do right now, and I'll have you answer some of these questions in the chat. When I do a workshop or other in-person event, I have folks get together, talk about this, and then report back. But I'll try to pick out some of the responses. But as we tie all of this into a leadership model and what it means as you apply it in a project-based environment, I want you to think about a leader in the past that has positively influenced you and answer these questions. I'll start with this one first. What 3 words best described what that person contributed to your life? So again, just think of that person that first comes to mind. what 3 words influence you or have describe how they impacted your life? We'll give you a second to think about that. All right, I see some answers coming in. Excellent. I'll start rolling down some of these. So I see trustworthy a couple times. I see some interesting understanding of diversity, patient. Someone said project management, Hazel. That Hazel says, that's not the hell I want to hear. Well, maybe have her explain that one in a moment here. Confidence, challenge, humility. Again, trustworthy. I'm sending you to school. Hazel, you're funny. I saw that earlier. Organization, technical ability, creativity. And you even named her, Kelly Johnson. Quality, empowerment, mentorship, guidance, communication. Keep them coming. Growth, wisdom, motivation, challenge, confidence, candor, knowledge, confidence, teaming, empowerment again, strategy, loyalty, integrity, clearing up the roadblocks, inspiring, fair. That's great. A lot of good stuff. Man, you guys I love the responses. A lot of things, empathy, focus, data-driven, transparent. It's interesting as you respond, and there's a good diversity of answers, but there are many consistent answers. It demonstrates some of how you look at the world and how that boss or that leader influenced you. Everybody sees things a little bit differently, but again, in some ways the same. So Scott said empowerment, support, development. Wow, you guys are great. Hope, patience. All right. And another question, how did they shape your thoughts and beliefs? This one's a little bit maybe more challenging to answer, but I'm curious about some of the responses there. How did they shape your thoughts and beliefs? So supportive of your personal development, what not to do, mentorship. Hopefully the what not to do wasn't by their examples, what they told you not to do. Some bosses tell you what not to do by things that they do, right? They're positive. They challenge the beliefs in a positive way from Scott. Lestra, sounds like my former, he reinforced my growth and desire to keep learning. They taught me to ask hard questions. Patience and mentorship. Pushed you off the ledge. I love it. Inspired you to do better. Set an example. Providing cost benefit and what detractors are saying. Great. Challenge your thoughts. Wow, so many to choose from. Oh, I didn't mean to go ahead yet. And then the last one is how did they alter the course of your life? So as you think about what we just answered and the things that they did, right? What describes how they contributed? How did they shape your thoughts and beliefs? And what did that result in? How did they alter the course of your life? 33. All right, so we got help develop me as a PM. Gave you space to fail. Did a 180 on my career path with Rachel. That's great. Raphael convinced you to become a leader. Growth and confidence. Helped you to get a promotion. Turned me into a good leader. Awesome. As someone with developer in my top 5. So developer is a passion to help people learn and grow from any point to any point of growth. Is something that fuels me and energizes me. And that's why I do this, is the developer is the primary motivation to help others learn and grow. To become a business owner, build up your confidence. Great, that's phenomenal. This is great. So much response. You all are great. So thank you for those responses. As we move forward, we talk about some of the effective leaders. Some of these answers that you gave will be in this list. Build trust. So it's trustworthy is one of the things you all said. They create hope. We saw hope out there. Provide stability. If you have a boss that's all over the place and you can't pin down what tomorrow is going to look like, or next week, or next month. If they don't give you that stability, as they say, good people don't leave organizations, they leave bosses.
That's so true.
Yeah, absolutely. Show compassion, right? So we all are fully human wherever we're at work, at home, wherever. If they don't recognize that and show compassion when you need it, they're not being effective as a leader. They always invest in strengths. So some of the old school management approaches, they'd say, well, Dan, you're not very good at the books, at doing the accounting. I'm going to send you to school for accounting. Tell you what, you can send Dan Hay to all the accounting classes you want. I passed it. It was hell for me. That's not my strength. You can give me all the courses you want, but I'm never going to be an accountant. It'd be like giving a fishing rod to a person who isn't good at fishing and never will be. All you're going to do is get hooked with a hook from the fishing rod. So a good, effective leader understands followers' needs. What do you need as an individual to be effective on the team? And they surround themselves with the right people to maximize the team. So you could build a list even longer than this, but those are some key things. So I mentioned before that, and I'm trying to keep moving here. Let's see, 7:35. The domains of leadership. They were colored that way intentionally because they've taken the 34 themes and put them into these 4 distinct domains: executors, influencers, relationship builders, and strategic thinkers. So I fall into the relationship building, adaptability, developer, harmony, positivity. And then I've got belief in the executing theme. That's a driver. So as you are wired as an individual, some people will be in one of these, or mostly one, but typically they'll be in at least 2. So it's very interesting as you look at how these work, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment. So I talked about these 4 domains of leaderships. They need to be represented inside any good team to ensure maximum effectiveness, right? So a good rounded team will have these, and I'm going to demonstrate that in just a moment. Again, going through quickly because I want to get to that application here at the end. So the execution themes, they know how to make things happen. These are the drivers. And either someone has this as a combination of their top 5, or they're significantly drivers. And you'll see some examples here in a moment when I show some of the individual themes. Influencers. So the example here is Steve Jobs. The influencers just help people to open up their eyes and see things. They can sell, and they are folks that aren't afraid to speak up and challenge the status quo. You'll see WOO, actually not a word, it's an acronym. It means winning others over. It is the person that can navigate a room and never met a stranger. The relationship builders, they're the glue that holds the team together. So this is where I spend most of my time, just naturally, as someone that brings people together, helps to drive for consensus, helps to keep people rallied around whatever we're trying to accomplish, even in hard times. Strategic thinkers, these are the seeing themes. So analytical looks at all the details. It's the show me theme, like the show me state. It's prove it. Context looks at history. Futuristic, you get that. Ideation, they're just generators of ideas. Input, collector of information. Intellection is thinkers. They like to go deep. Learners, just constantly like the epitome of a lifelong learner. And strategic is constantly generating scenarios for what could be in every circumstance. Sorry, go ahead. Oh, go. Okay. So how can it be deployed? So jumping right into more of an application, I see a picture of Scott Payne there. We have him live and in the flesh and in the picture. His top 5: activator, strategic, command, futuristic, ideation. So here we've got an executor with some strategic tendencies, right? And then he has allowed me to share his bottom 5. So he's an excluder. I'm just kidding. Just kidding, Scott. Its connectedness is really discipline, context, harmony, includer. But on the other side, activator, significant person to take action and get things moving forward. And you see that as he takes action. He's a rapid fire kind of guy. Strategic, this is the person I need to partner with, and many of you do as well, because he would help you think through different scenarios and how to look at things and how to adapt. And command, he's gonna bulldoze things and push things through. He's got to get stuff done. So anyway, so you get an idea of kind of how Scott's wired. Anthony, he's strategic as well. Responsibility, his word is his bond. Not to say no one else is, but when he makes a commitment, it's a commitment to an individual, and he will literally kill himself to keep that commitment. Also ideation, connectedness. He'll be able to see disparate connections and things that other people can't see. It's very interesting how connectedness people work. It's the what was that show or movie way back when, I See Dead People, that quote from that little guy, I can't remember the name of that movie. Input, again, collector of information. So I always ask an input person, what do you collect? Because sometimes they just collect things. It might be books, it might be something of interest. So Anthony, share that when you can, just if you collect something. And then just pipe in whenever you want. Bottom 5, consistency, futuristic, significance, context, competition. So what I should have said when I was talking about Scott's as well, his bottom 5 is you don't need to spend time on these. You're not going to get a return on investment on them, but you do need to mitigate them. So it doesn't mean that Anthony or Scott get to get away with not being any of these things. They do need to make sure they partner with others that have these things. They need to make sure that it doesn't become a risk for them as they try to move forward with the things that they want to achieve. Okay. Like I said earlier about myself, focus number 34, I can't just run out of the room right now, right? Even though, there's something, in the other room, a chocolate cake or something that I really like to eat. I got to stay here and see this through. So manage your weaknesses. So what I put together then, and I added in some other individuals that were from other places that I've done this. I changed their names, but you'll see some of the names you recognize. Anthony Cherry's in there, myself. Inna T. Wength, Kimberly from this group is there. Muskell is in there. Powellful, I just like to share the names I made up. And She's a Hero is the other person. So with all of those together, I put together this analysis that demonstrates that if we were a team and we were going to go accomplish something, so say you walk into a new project, a lot of times we don't get to pick the individuals that are on the team. What's interesting is more often than not, the team ends up being fairly rounded. When I do a workshop with a team and help them get to know each other, very often I'll share with them where the missing themes are. So you look down here at the domains and you see the number of people. So 7 people had strategic thinking themes, and that represents 15 out of this group. So if you look in this quadrant up here in the strategic thinking quadrant, you'll see strategic as the top strength of this team. So this team is really good at understanding how to think about different ways of tackling a problem or coming up with a plan to move forward. So we're pretty good there. So the planning piece of this project is probably going to go really well. Also some thinkers. We've got ideation. A couple of people have that. Analytical, really good to have to help dig into the details. I partner with those folks a lot because that's one of my lower themes. And then you look at what's missing. So the influencing theme is fairly low. It's the lowest one with 3 people, 4 themes. So this is where, we have some of it. We've got Scott as an activator, and somebody else had activator as well. So this is where you'd want to understand what that means, right? Those activators are going to be pretty key for you. And this is where, when I mentioned earlier, it's very important for you as an individual. If you're the only person with a certain strength on a team, if you don't bring that, who's going to bring it? Very important that that's recognized. You have that responsibility to the team. Let's see here. Relationship building. There's a good mix of relationship building themes in the group. And then, of course, executing is, I think this actually relationship building is second. No, executing second. And I got that wrong. Executing is number 1. It just has them more spread out. So I miscalled that. Strategic thinking is second, and then relationship building is third as far as the areas of execution. So very interesting. The other piece that I often look at, we see as a team, 56% had the strategic. as a team, we bring, and it culminates kind of all of these themes together cohesively into a common definition. It says this team is going to bring creative anticipation, imagination, and persistence towards the goal. We need freedom. And you see that a lot with the strategic thinking themes. It's freedom to take action, freedom to make adjustments. And we're motivated by seeing a way when others assume there's no way. And if you sit with someone who has strategic and you're like, how did you come up with that? How did you make that connection? You're usually in awe of how that works. So I'm going to stop for a second because I've rambled on a bit. And I'd like to hear first from Anthony, going back to his, on I'm going to take a chance that he has some sort of collection. Maybe it's, bunny rabbits or something. I'm just kidding, Anthony. I don't know.
Yeah, I put it in the chat. It's really more about collecting data and data on the environment. And that includes everything from systems, people, things, and then strategically trying to figure out how to connect those dots and leverage them to the team's advantage. That's it.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, that definitely ties in with your ideation and strategic, you want to make sure you have some fuel for that fire. Excellent. So on this slide on this team analysis, any questions? Or Kimberly, I didn't get a page put up for your individual top 5, but I'm curious if you had any thoughts on when you took the assessment. What was your first response to the top 5? Put you on the spot.
Does it resonate with you, Kim?
Yes, it definitely does. I actually just started a new job like 2 months ago, and this was pretty spot on based on feedback so far from my coworkers. So
that's cool.
Good, very good. And I think you came out with more of the relationship building themes, if I recall.
yes, I believe so.
Excellent, excellent. Anybody else have any questions on this piece right here? I have a little bit more to go over with you, but this was the analysis I put together for a team.
Yeah.
Okay. Check the chat here. Go
I
ahead.
got one quick question. Is there a way to evaluate a project scope to see what characteristics need the most attention so you can place people into that project?
There isn't a way specifically. You can sit down and look at any project and see if you have, a complex problem that, doesn't have a clear and direct solution. I wouldn't say, go out and find all of these exact same type of people. What I mentioned at the beginning, though, is typically when I do this analysis, you'll find that there's usually a spread across all of the areas. So you'll get someone usually on a team that has one of the strengths that's not represented, at least in the same domain for sure. And that domain, usually that representation will help in some way, shape, or form. The PM being able to actually look at that and analyze it is really the key. They're the driver, right? And they typically, spend a lot of time trying to come up with the plan. Obviously, they have other people that have contribution into that. But if they have this understanding, if you think about a project when you engage, if you understand these things that are in front of you right now about your people, and you're just getting to know them. I'm not talking about, people you worked with forever. You might have some understanding of them, but even in that situation, this is beneficial because it allows you to see, how do I approach that individual more effectively? Or if you're trying to do team activities to get the work done, you might adjust how you approach it based upon the way your individuals are wired, right? So if I have a bunch of thinkers on the team and it's really significantly high, putting them in a situation where I'm constantly pulling them away from their deep thinking is probably not a good idea, right? You're going to benefit a little bit more by having them have time and space to think through what they need to, and then meet with them after you've gotten that so that they are able to share their thoughts. Activators are fast, so they're going to want to meet quickly. and make decisions quickly. But other themes, they have different themes that they qualify as slow thinkers or fast thinkers. That'd be something that you want to consider as well. So I don't know if I answered your question directly, but it definitely sent me down a whole path there.
Yeah, it definitely helps if you know the pool people. It's just like, but you just nailed on it just a second ago, is I probably would want, if I've got a fast-paced project, I probably don't want deep thinkers on it. And so I don't want to set them up for failure. And I work in an environment where it's a pool of people that can do skill sets, and then you send them to do the engineering project and everything. But knowing these other characteristics, I don't want to put them on a project that doesn't fit their personality and they fail on it. And it's not because of their technical capability, it's because of the personality.
Right. If you have the ability to choose who you deploy, and you have this awareness, I mean, it can help you to make adjustments there. But, what I would say is I have individuals that I've worked with in the past, someone who's deliberative, for example. Deliberative is very slow thinking. They're the person that's going to call out your risks. Who doesn't need help with risks? I mean, I'm terrible at risk assessment. I need to do it. I know it's important. When I do it, I benefit, but I don't always think about all the risks when I need to. If I go to my deliberative person, they are like, oh yeah, this guy's going to fall. And it's not that they're negative, but they're able to draw out those things and make sure that you understand where the potential pitfalls are and help you think through them. So again, if you think about that, partner them with someone who's strategic. They can help to solve and come up with answers for how we mitigate and get out of that risk or exploit it. That's really important. So great call out. I appreciate that. I'm not sure who that was, but thank you, sir. Anybody
like
else?
in the chat, like if you already put your name in once, just put it in once so that I don't do it. I just didn't know they're there. So I'm going to pay for 2 people to do it. So like, or the company will. Yeah, put your name in there. Yep.
Great.
Cool.
Excellent. And when those 2 people, when you pick them, I will do a hour session with them as well. We'll do that.
Dude, look at that, bro. Making dreams come true. This is awesome. Yeah. Let me ask a question. You got more slides or okay.
Sorry, what was that?
You have more slides or can we?
Yeah, I do. I just.
Okay. Fire away, dude. Fire away.
Okay. So when we talk about how to take action, I've demonstrated a quick scenario of how we pull this together for a team. I've talked about how I would look at it from an analysis standpoint and why it would benefit you. So again, if you think about the example of how Scott looks at the world and how I look at the world, very quickly, I'll go back to his, right? So I'm harmony, adaptability, positivity, developer, and belief. We could definitely experience friction if Scott and I were put on a team and we didn't understand how we look at the world. Harmony would say, hey, let's make sure we have an understanding, we reach consensus. And command and activator might say, no, we got to move forward. And I'm not really concerned about everybody being kumbaya. We got to drive, right? I'm not saying this, so this is how Scott operates, but I think he's a driver for sure. And sometimes that causes friction. Sometimes sometimes my need to have harmony causes friction as well. So if we understand that, we can come to the table and work together more effectively to use that for the benefit of the project, not for the bad. And if you don't understand this, it can definitely be bad. All right, so back up here. Next steps would be discover you. Take the assessment, right? Learning comes through understanding. If you don't even understand how you're wired. Now, again, if you today, right now, took a sheet of paper and you drew a line down that sheet of paper and you read energizes and drains on it. Marcus Buckingham talks about this a bit. He says, go throughout your day and just mark down, I did this presentation, energizes me. I had to balance the checkbook, drain, right? You just keep going down the list with whatever it is for you. You will find a general idea of what your talent themes are. And some of you are self-aware enough, you probably have that already. But what can happen with the Strengths Finder or Clifton Strengths Assessment is that it will speed up that process of you gaining understanding. So the next piece I would say is after you discover it, know it. If you do this and you just say, oh, I got my top 5, yay, those 3 people that did it, Scott and Anthony and the other person, thank you. I'm sorry. I'm terrible.
Kim.
Sorry, yeah. Kim. If those 3 just said, oh, that was neat, warm, fuzzy, yay, and then they just moved on with their life, that's all it was. It doesn't do anything for you. But if you know it and you impress it and you can say it, harmony, adaptability, positivity, developer and belief. I just messed it up. But if you know it, if you don't name it, you can't claim it, right? So once you know it, and I try to position myself in a way that to act on that strength, then it makes the difference in your life and in the lives of the people around you. When you do those things as an individual and it happens on a project, people look at it and go, wow, how was Scott able to think through those scenarios so quickly and come up with new things? Why does he operate so quickly and like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that, right? He's very energetic. It's activator. That's how Scott sees the world, and he's energized about it. That's when it's working. The next piece is empower others. So get other people to do the assessment as well. Again, I'm not commissioned by Gallup. My play in this is I like to coach people in it, and I would love the opportunity to come into a team and help them understand this, not just as an individual, because that's how Gallup will give it to you, is they'll give you your top 5 in 5 silos. But it means something when you put the 5 together in a combination, and on a team level, it means something as well that's slightly different. So that whole cycle, discover, know, empower, replicate. When you do that, it creates really cool things. And then the last piece is hire me as your coach. So encourage you to think about that as you go back to your organizations. And this piece here, again, this is all about me trying to tell you to go out and understand how you're wired as individuals. This is an older picture, of course, of Arnold Schwarzenegger. You can have results or excuses, but you can't have both. You got to jump into seeking those results. So take the next step, contacting me. Take the assessment. You can email me at danhay@strengthsadvance.com. And I'd love to have you unleash your strengths and advance your potential. Let's talk about some more questions.
What kind of questions you guys have out there? Just shoot them out there. Anybody?
Dan, you mentioned that you and your wife, when you compared you and your wife, you said that there could be conflict between her strengths and your weaknesses. Wouldn't it, I'm trying to say, wouldn't you lean on each other in order to create a stronger bond or a pair in order to accomplish bigger and better things? Or would you be clashing a lot trying to accomplish a single
in 28 years of marriage, there's definitely been clashing at times, and anybody will have that, of course. But what I found is after I discovered this, and she did her assessment about, I think it's been 15, 16 years ago. When we got those back, and hers, I got on a little paper here. I know some of them off the top of my head, but I forget. But you know, she's a discipline, focus. Guess who's number 34? Mine, and she's got it as number 3. She's an activator and she's responsibility. So she is bonded to her commitments in her job. She, is really responsible. They're getting probably double the time out of her that they would any other person as an achiever and an activator and a responsibility person, because she'll commit to things for the team that make it so that she is invaluable to them. In our relationship, she'll often be the one that says, hey, did you remember we got to do this thing? Or we said this way back here. We got to stay on target with that plan, because guess what adaptability does is I modify her in ways that say, you need to not always be so hyper-focused because it might stress you out. And we balance each other that way. So I agree with you 100%. When we use it appropriately, we balance each other. But if I brought her in here right now, she would definitely share examples of where we drove each other crazy, or I drove her crazy probably. So. But I've actually done coaching with couples on strengths as well, because you can make some interesting observations about, two people when you compare their strengths.
I have a question, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I took this a while back, about maybe 2 years ago, but I've done them before. And my question is, does it ever change? Like, is there, life changes, things happen. Do they ever change if we take it again?
Sure. Would I encourage people to keep taking it over and over? No, because what happens is when you take it, even though the test will never be exactly the same every time, you, after you do it that second time, you may inadvertently game the system where you're trying to adjust. Because some people, and I just had this on I'm in a cohort of coaches that I meet with every other Monday. And someone shared exactly this scenario where someone had taken it, who actually was an alcoholic, and they took it before, when they were still fully engaged in alcoholism. And then they took it when they were recovered from that. And they did have some changes. So I would say, unless you have a significant life change like that, I wouldn't expect that it would change very much. And Gallup's research shows that it doesn't. It's very small, less than 1% would change out of the top 5 or top 10.
Great.
So, yeah, I don't know how much yours changed from one test to the other, but I imagine that if it did flip out of the top 5, they're still in your top 10.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great presentation, by the way. This was great.
Thank you. It was fast. I wanted to make sure we were able to get to that portion in this conversation at the end. Anybody else have a question?
Yeah, quick question. I don't know if somebody already asked this, but just, do you ever have, because I work with a lot of fast-paced moving projects, a lot of scientists and folks who essentially know their strengths. So do you ever have resistance of people not wanting to take the test, or not wanting to, self-assess?
Absolutely.
I see the benefits as a project manager, of course, but again, to get people to do stuff, you really have to show them the benefits. I see.
Absolutely. And there's different ways around that. I was in a group. I was actually a Scrum Master when I first implemented this as a coach at a company, and it was software developers. And ironically, most of the software developers were analytical, intellection. They were also strategic, deliberative, very much thinkers. And they were like, hey, get away from me, leave me alone. Let's talk as little as possible so I can do as much work as possible. And they were resistant. But after we did it and they started to see, hey, I understand how these people are wired. I was, Mr. Positivity on the team, and they're like, get away from me. So you definitely have that. The other scenarios are sometimes command. Some of the leadership individuals will say, listen, we just got to get the work done. Let's keep driving forward. Nothing on command specifically here. But I've seen that before where sometimes they're hard to pin down with this. But the way around that is demonstrating some facts. And I have some data. If you go out there and look for white papers on what Gallup has done here, they have some studies that 28 million assessments that they reached last year. They did a study on 20 years of StrengthsFinder results, and they have some specific examples and data points that demonstrate the impact in workplaces around this.
Dan, yet again, thank you so much. I think we hit 158, which is, a record, I think, for us at least. But thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And yeah, I think I took some emails down. We're going to get some people to you. They might want to do it with their company. So thank you again, sir.
Excellent. Thanks so much. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. And like I said, if you had questions I missed, feel free to email me at danhay@strengthsadvance.com.